Hey pup, what are we gonna do today? Kirby's Adventure on the Famicom? Giddy up! Today I'm going to be taking a look at Kirby's Adventure for the NES and Famicom, and for this review I played it on my Famicom. Now, before delving into that review though, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Famicom, as I've actually had a few friends express some interest in learning about the consoles that I've got, so I might as well throw some information out there for those who yearn for it. The Nintendo Entertainment System, known as the Famicom in Japan, was first released in Japan in 1983, then later in North America in 1985. The console enjoyed quite a long and healthy life and dominated the video game market upon its release, and was officially supported until 1995 in America and to 2003 in Japan. That's one hell of a lifespan for a game console, considering that by that time the PlayStation 2 was already released. It is also a well-known fact that the NES was solely responsible for fuck-starting the dying video game industry upon its release. You can thank Atari for pissing all over the market up to this point. Let's take a quick look at my actual console. Here's my Famicom when I first received it, and as you can see, it's in pretty rough shape. I knew it was not in pristine condition when I bought it, but nothing prepared me for this absolute nightmare of a console when I initially got it, so I proceeded to clean out the dust and dirt, clean the board inside, clean the controllers, used a magic eraser to gently remove the scuff marks, and then proceeded to retro-bright the case, which is a plastic brightening process involving some wicked toxic hair product, and that took a couple weeks letting it sit out in the sun in a clear plastic Ziploc bag daily to get the plastic as white as you see here. Literally, I think it took about 3 weeks. The rest of the console, including the controllers, switches, internal parts, etc., were Frankensteined together using 3 different consoles, most of which were damaged or not working in one way or another, and were used for the best looking and working parts, which I hobbled together into one beautiful looking unit. Here's the Famicom graveyard here. I don't know what to do with any of this. I'll just keep them around for parts should I ever happen to need them. And finally, with all of that finished, I installed the NES RGB mod from Tim Worthington in this beast to get the best picture possible out of it, and I'm running my games from a Famicom EverDrive. The controllers on the Famicom are also famously hardwired to the main board, and the cords are short as hell, so I modded these controllers and the console with detachable cables from NES extension cables. I've got it hooked up to my OSSC, which is an upscaler so it looks good on my big OLED TV, through an RGB cable, also from Tim Worthington. I'll actually throw some links into the description for anyone that is interested in these products. And here's my finished Famicom next to how it originally looked. I think it looks a little bit better, wouldn't you agree? So now that I'm finished patting myself on the back for a job well done, and without further ado, let's dive right into this adorable pink little nugget's first outing on the Famicom and Entertainment System. And by the way, I'm just going to refer to the console as the Famicom from now on because that's what I'm playing it on, and it is such a better looking console than the NES and better in almost every single way, except for the hardwired controllers, which I don't have that problem because I'm awesome. Kirby's Adventure was developed by HAL Laboratory, published by Nintendo and released in 1993, and unbeknownst to me, this was not the first game he starred in. His first outing, Kirby's Dreamland, was released on the Nintendo Game Boy in 1992, and perhaps one day I'll take a look at that game as well. There's also a remake of this game, which I just found out while writing this review for the Game Boy Advance, which was released in 2002, and titled Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. This is also the first Kirby game I have ever played, surprisingly, aside from Kirby's Canvas Curse for the Nintendo DS, which I don't really think counts, as you can replace Kirby with anything in that game and you would never notice, and it plays so different from any others in the series, so I don't really consider it canon. It's a really fun game though. As this is a later release for Famicom, the graphics and music basically push the system to the limit. Almost too hard if you ask me, as there's a ton of slowdowns sometimes throughout the game. Let's go over the story for a moment, then the basics of how Kirby controls and the mechanics of the game. Then we'll go full ACG mode and tackle graphic, sound, and fun factor. And if you haven't checked out any ACG reviews on YouTube, by the way, I highly suggest you do. I'll throw a link to him in the description as well, just for fun. God damn it, I'm having a hard time spitting out this portion of the video, but okay. I digress. Let's jump into the main story of the game, which I've condensed from the back of the box. The dream spring, the source of all dreams in Dreamland, has dried up, and it's up to Kirby, who loves dreams, which the box refers to as the bombastic blimp, to return happy naps to the inhabitants of Dreamland so they can dream some more, blah, blah, blah. Who fucking cares? All right, simple enough. It totally glosses over how he would achieve any of this, but it doesn't matter. And that's all for that. It's a Famicom game. What do you expect? Let's discuss how this little pink fuck controls, and he controls pretty good, all things considered. You can do a lot with this little freak with the Famicom simple controller consisting of just 2 main buttons, a D-pad, and select and start buttons. I mentioned all the buttons on the controller because they are all used. The D-pad, as you would expect, controls Kirby. You press up to make him float and repeatedly push up to flap up higher. You can double tap left or right to make Kirby run in that direction. You press down and either A or B to perform a slide attack like Mega Man, and pressing down after inhaling an enemy makes Kirby copy that enemy's ability. A button jumps and B button sucks in enemies, shoots a star if you have anything inhaled, uses an ability if Kirby currently has one, or performs a puff attack while in the air or swimming. Lastly, select will have Kirby throw away any ability he is currently equipped with, and the start button pauses and pulls up a menu with the description of the current ability Kirby has. And also, like, I can't spit this out. I'm gonna keep going. And pulls up a menu with the description of the current ability Kirby has, and also allows you to exit the stage if you have already completed it. That's quite a lot of functions for a simple platformer, but overall it's intuitive and easy enough to get the hang of. I found myself controlling Kirby without any issues after just a few minutes playing. I controlled him better than I'm obviously talking for this video because goddamn. Okay. General gameplay consists of Kirby sliding into enemies in order to defeat them. You can also suck in air and blow it out at enemies to murder them, or you suck the enemies up and press down to gain their ability if they have one, and some abilities are far better than others. This game follows the Mega Man school of respawning enemies the second you leave the screen where they were, so you will be killing the exact same enemy over and over and over again, many times throughout the game, and frustrating enemies in stupid locations will constantly respawn to keep hitting you over and over again, like my ex-girlfriend. Whether or not this is a bad thing is up to personal preference. I'm kind of indifferent to it. I neither like it nor hate it, but sometimes it can be annoying. Abilities you can gain from enemies include fire, ice, wheel, laser, hammer, tornado, ball, cutter blade, and more, with special limited abilities you can get from bosses like a microphone Kirby screams into, murdering every enemy on screen. These can be really fun to use or really shitty depending on what you get. I find myself preferring fire, ice, laser, and hammer, and absolutely loathing the tornado and wheel power-up. There's even one called Sleep, which just makes Kirby go to sleep. It's absolutely worthless, but it's awesome that it's here just to fuck with you. Once Kirby gets hit, he loses an ability which leaves his body as a bouncing star, and if you're quick enough and not in the water, you can suck it back up and gain your ability back. This is easier said than done as it tries like hell to get as far away from you as fast as possible once you lose it. Kirby has a health bar, and there are the typical health power-ups throughout the levels. However, I found that these are almost non-existent in the later zones, which we'll talk about in a bit. As I mentioned in the control section, he can also fly, which is useful for various stages where that sort of thing is needed. However, this can be limited sometimes, which I will also talk about in a bit. Once you dive into the actual game, the first thing you're going to notice is how gosh damn good the game looks. For Famicom, it's amazing that this is even possible. However, the game does use a special enhancement chip in the cartridge called the MMC3, which basically allows more sprites and tile data to be displayed at once. The graphics still hold up by today's standards for those that like pickle art? Fuck. Ugh. Pixel art. Which I certainly do. God damn. I've mentioned in my previous Windjammers review that this kind of artwork can stand the test of time, and Kirby is a good looking game no matter what generation of games you compare it to. There's a ton of vibrant colors in every stage. There's plenty of parallax scrolling in the backgrounds for those that love that sort of thing. The amount of animations per enemy and for Kirby himself is staggering. I can't believe how many animations Kirby has. There's a ton, and it all looks fluid. Again, pretty amazing stuff. This is definitely one of the best looking Famicom games I have ever seen. There are 7 main zones, each consisting of 6 or 7 stages each, with some bonus levels scattered throughout and boss fights at the end of each zone. Every zone has its own theme and hardly any stage is reminiscent of any of the other stages. Most of the levels are unique to each other. For example, in the last zone there's a stage that duplicates one of the Game Boy game levels and it looks incredible. I never expected to see anything like that here, and I love everything about it. It's fun touches like this that really make this game stand out as a platformer on a console that is notorious for platformers, and this is more than likely the best looking one out of the bunch. I really can't say enough about the graphics, but we gotta move on. The music in this game is fitting, and it's exactly as cute as you would expect it to be. The chip tunes fit well with the overall look of the game and really help round out the entire package. Each zone has its own musical theme or motif, if you want to be an asshole about it, and there's an astounding selection of different songs here, and most of them range from good to great. The sound effects are good, from Kirby's inhale, jump, fly, and swim, and I'd say overall it's on point. No matter what though, the game is still on the 8-bit Famicom, and this machine is only capable of so much, but I would say that the score here is fantastic, and if you are paying attention, the music from the game has been playing in the background during this review, so that'll give you a pretty good idea what we're working with here. It's on par with anything Konami or Capcom put out for the console in my opinion, and for those of you in the loop, you should know exactly what that means. As I mentioned, there are bonus stages in each zone. These consist of an Action Claw-inspired game that awards 1-ups, mini-boss fights that can yield special powerful abilities, and even a quick-draw gunslinger minigame that, if you can draw faster than your opponents, you'll be rewarded 1-ups. These are fun, but you can skip them if you want. As for the stages in each zone, most are well thought out and fun, but sometimes very frustrating to play through. This isn't exactly an easy game despite its adorable graphics, but the levels do a great job of filtering you through them and limiting your abilities, so you can't just fly through each stage. They are consistent and well designed and keep the game moving. There are roadblocks throughout each level to make sure you stay on the ground when it wants you to, and exploding blocks you need to hit in order to move forward, which keeps you from just double tapping right and running through the entire stage. There are multiple paths you can take to reach the end goal. Once you reach the end goal, you get a quick trampoline minigame where if you time your button pressed just right, you can get a free 1-up, which you will probably need because this game has no problem murdering you every chance it gets. The animation on this bonus zone, by the way, is so impressive and cute to watch every single time. It never gets old watching Kirby flop and victory dance around upon completing the stage. He's so cute I want to mush his face off. Once you get to the last stage in the zone, you will fight a boss, and there are quite a few unique bosses that you can fight. In a later zone, you'll get a Mega Man inspired boss rush, which can be fun or suck ass depending on your feelings there. These bosses will give you unique limited use abilities like I mentioned earlier. Finally, in the end game, you will go up against King Dedede, and I found that you can murder this dude pretty quick with the laser ability. The first time I played him, he killed me and I lost my ability and found there was no other way to hit him without one. So, I had to backtrack all the way back to the first zone in order to get laser, which I was thinking would be the most effective ability to use against him. Then I went all the way back to zone 7 and fought him again, at which time I killed him right away with very little effort, so my gut was right. But the fun doesn't stop there, as there is another couple of boss fights after, as it turns out King Dedede was not your enemy and was trying to help you. You get a scepter and then fight the true boss. Now, what transpires next is fucking awesome. Unexpectedly, the game goes into full-on horizontal shmup mode as you fight the first iteration of the final boss, I believe named Nightmare. I had so much fun with this and loved everything about it, and it really made me appreciate the game that much more. Like, the level of variety and things that this game pulls off for this ancient console just never ceases to amaze me. After completing this form, you fight the true Nightmare, and this guy can be a bit of a bitch, but I did beat him on my second or third attempt. You just gotta constantly hit his body when it reveals from under his cape. Not much to it, but his movements and patterns can lead to some serious frustration. And that's it. Peace is restored to Dreamland and Kirby rides away in a cloud of victory. Now, what did I think about this game? Was it fun? Is it worth playing today in 2022 when I'm creating this video? In case you haven't been able to tell at this point, this game sucks. I'm joking, this game rules. I really enjoyed it much more than I thought I would, and I was pleasantly surprised playing each stage how creative and innovative this game is for the platform that it's on and the time it was released. HAL Laboratory really pulled no punches while developing this game, and everything about it, from the graphic presentation to the music, to the animations, to the enemies, to the levels, the bosses, the abilities, to Kirby himself, everything all comes together into one hell of an amazing package that I would easily recommend to anybody that loves platformers. If you have an NES or Famicom, I highly suggest you give this one a shot if you are like me and never gave this one a chance previously, as there's hours of fun to be had here. And the game even has a save function, so you don't have to beat it all in one go like I did. Play this game any way you can, you won't regret putting in the time. So guys, another positive review for you and a brief overview of the Famicom that I've got. What more could you ask for? Thanks for sticking around until the end, it's much appreciated, and if you like this content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and throw me a comment and let me know what you think about this game. Have you played it, or do you plan on playing it after seeing this review? Let me know. And in the meantime, I will see you guys on the next episode, whatever game it might be. Thanks again, see you then.